They gave us the choice, a month or two ago, and we decided to stay with remote online meetings because it was, I think, more convenient for everyone.
Yep.
We could once in a while we could meet in person if we want, whatever you guys want to do, and as long as we're within the guidelines.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello there.
Would you guys like to start up, or should we give Deb a minute? I mean, this might move quickly, so I think we could start and get it done. In that case, I will start up now. So, welcome to the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board. This is Monday, June 26th. We're holding a remote meeting as has been the protocol for a couple of years. And so here are the procedures. This meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you will need to use the link on the agenda. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While the members or commissioners and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as attendee, meaning they are muted with no video feed from them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raise hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request with the Q&A function. If you're joining only by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. If an applicant wishes to display materials, please make the request of the chair and email the materials to the board staff for sharing on screen. We actually prefer that anyone making a presentation would just share their screen. The remaining rules could be found on the second page of the agenda, which has been posted. So we'll do a roll call. Kedem, are you here?
Hi, here.
Yep. Stetson?
Here.
Wolf?
Present.
Okay.
And Peter, I did receive an email from Deb apologizing, but she got stuck on a last-minute deadline.
Okay, well, we should be fine with 4 of us here, so. It looks like 518 Washington Street, that's Holy Cross, is going to be continued to July 10th.
Make a motion to continue site plan review for 518 Washington Street, Stetson.
Kevin, second.
All in favor? Kedem?
Aye.
Stetson?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Okay, next up is continued minor modification of site plan. 530 and 550 Turnpike Street, Rhino Easton LLC. Oh. Stephanie, can you see anyone out there?
Yep, both
Rhino?
Bob Pellegrini and John are here.
Good
And I
evening,
don't think
everyone.
it's anyone else.
John O'Leary has started screen sharing.
Nope, it's just us this evening.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, thank you. Please state your names and your addresses for the record.
Absolutely. John O'Leary, Rhino Capital.
Robert Pellegrini here with PK Boston Law, 63 Main Street, Suite 1, Bridgewater.
Okay, thank you. So you have some changes to the plans?
Yeah, so real quick, I just wanted to let you know John and I are here this evening. We were here before you just a couple weeks ago. And once again, this is for a minor modification to the site plan approval from last year. I think that's John and I should be able to address everything that came up at the last meeting. So with that, I'll just have John start going through it.
Yeah, again, John O'Leary, Rhino Capital. I'm here this evening. Sorry, I've got some flows and feedback there. Here this evening speaking about 530 Turnpike Street. So again, just to give you a little bit of background, 80-acre site. I think at this point everyone's pretty familiar with this. So I'm just going to kind of run through the basics of it. So again, 79-acre site, 50 of which is a wetland area, 70 of which being that rare species habitat. The reason we're here tonight for minor modification is because of some tenant requirements and tenant requests. Again, I can go over this if anyone feels necessary, but given we were just here 2 weeks ago talking about this, just going to kind of cruise through it pretty quickly here. So again, this is our approved design. The majority of the changes came in the result of a roadway connecting the passenger parking area to loading dock area, and as a result, adjustment on the stormwater basin. So just as by way of update as well, we did submit, as you know, simultaneously to the Conservation Commission on, I want to say, Thursday of last week. We received comments back from our peer reviewer and in the process of responding to those comments, and anticipate being on the July 10th hearing to go over some of those revisions. So just wanted to orient everyone on where that process stands. So just walking through a couple of documents that were resubmitted to you all since our last hearing. So it was discussed, a comment came up regarding a lighting plan. So we've since revised the lighting plan. Very little change here. Really the only change came in an additional wall pack lighting along the eastern portion of the building, as well as 2 light poles added along the new roadway. Both lights, or all lights, being dark sky compliant per Mass Fish and Wildlife requirements. So little change there, but just wanted to make note of it. The other element was a minor change to our landscaping plan. Because of the reduction in the parking area, we did increase the area of hydro-seeded fescue along that northern portion of the property. All quantities in the remainder of the lighting plan exactly stayed the same. No species change. Really, the only change was just a minor increase in the area seeded. So everything remains consistent on that front. A comment came up last week regarding the snow storage. So we had McKenzie Engineering review snow storage requirements and has resized the snow storage to account for the additional pavement area. This snow storage was designed such that it is directed away from wetland areas per Conservation Commission requests. And again, that area has been sized per the new roadway that has been added. And then coming out of last meeting, there were a couple of comments and a couple of discussions around directory signage and truck circulation. So we took a look at some options for some increased signage around the property. So starting with the southern entrance, which would be planned left here, we proposed a sign that states delivery vehicles only, intended to allow only truck traffic via deliveries servicing the property. Along the northern entry to the property, the primarily passenger parking and customer parking area, we have included a sign that states no delivery vehicles. Along the eastern portion of the property, next to the loading docks, we have extended the line striping and also proposed a sign that states no delivery trucks beyond this point. So those areas are clouded in red and can be noted on the plan. Beyond that, that's pretty much all I had for you all this evening. Again, I think, we're working through the Conservation Commission comments and peer review revisions right now with Mackenzie Engineering, but just wanted to get in front of you guys, share with you all the changes that came from last week's hearing, and obviously answer any questions that might come of it.
Great, thank you. Stephanie, did you have some comments or what's from like the town?
No, and I'm looking through the binder. It looks like my report wasn't in the binder, but basically what John went through was a reiteration of what my comment said. They've addressed all the questions and comments that were raised by the board. In particular, it was related to the delivery vehicles and making sure that there was a clear delineation as to where they were entering and where they would be traveling on the site, and where the customer vehicles would be limited.
Okay, so guys, from the town's perspective, is it like the conservation and peer review far enough along that?
Yes, I went over the report this morning with Jen Carlino. There were a few things that they need to make changes to, but they look relatively minor in nature and really should not impact the design.
Okay. Do any board members have any questions or comments? No. Do we see any public hands raised? I don't think so. So in that case, we could kind of approve this minor modification with some contingency on the peer review being finalized favorably.
John O'Leary has stopped screen
Stephanie, do
sharing.
you think that's...
Are you asking for a motion?
Yeah, Stephanie, do you think that is a good time for that? I mean, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Motion to approve the site plan for 530 and 550 Turnpike Street.
Second, Stetson.
Okay. All in favor? Stetson?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Cato?
Aye.
DeShane, aye. All right, that passes. Thanks.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Okay. Next, we have a continued public hearing for a 537 Turnpike Street special permit duplex. I think this was the toll house that we talked about
Right.
on Turnpike Street a month ago.
Across the street.
So, Mr. Chair, may I ask Suzanne a question?
Yeah, please do.
Did they request to continue to a date certain?
July 10th. They were fine with July 10th.
Okay.
And were they consulting with the historical?
They had not yet submitted their demolition review application to the Historical Commission. So when I talked with the engineer, he was following up on that to find out where that was. But that's what they need to do. And once they do it, if the commission votes to invoke the demolition delay, my suggestion at that time would be that the board ask the applicant to continue to a date uncertain, and then when they're ready, they can come back. They'll just have to renotice the hearing.
Right, yeah, good point. Okay, so we need a motion to continue to
July,
What is the date?
July.
Motion to continue public hearing on 537 Turnpike Street for July.
July 10th. Second, Stetson.
Okay, all in favor? Wolf?
Aye.
Stetson?
Aye.
Get him.
Aye.
DeShane, aye. The motion passes. Next up is Old Ford Commons, 20 South Street. Decision insubstantial change, William Humphrey.
I'm going to recuse myself from this one.
Goodbye.
So, Mr. Chair, I don't see Mr. Humphrey here tonight.
Mhm.
But he did submit the list of materials detailed out that the board requested, and also updated the elevations, the architectural plans, to call out those individual elements as well on the plan. And they were
Yeah,
all
I looked at that quickly. Did you think that that he captured all the items that we talked about?
we ensured that he did. So both Suzanne looked at them and then I looked at them. And yes, they all are there.
Right. So, but right now we're not making a motion on any like of the architectural, right? We're actually just revising the special permit to remove the stipulation that natural materials be used for this particular unit
Correct.
or lot.
That
That case, do we have enough people? It's a special permit.
It's a special permit.
right. So my recommendation, again, because the requested change doesn't modify the subdivision unit count, the road layout, the house design, or any of the other significant aspects of or elements of the project, that the board determine that it is an insignificant change and allow the change to be made to the decision.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
there you go. Is there a
Yeah,
second?
second.
Okay, all in favor? Wolf?
Aye.
Kadam?
Aye.
DeShane? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, well, things are moving along here. Robert probably is still eating his dinner because that was too quick for him. But we'll
I scarfed it down right before the meeting.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah, I think we're all eating like 5 minutes before the meeting.
Oh, now I know why it's right at the last minute that everyone's joining. I panic struck when it's 6:28 and no one's on.
Oh, sorry.
But that being said, I'm generally trying to eat something too before.
Yeah, you can get a few emails out or whatever. Yeah, so shall I do the MBTA multifamily?
Yeah, so
right.
at the
What do you
last
think?
meeting, the board narrowed down their focus for the districts to the Eastman Foundry District and to the Washington Belmont District, and asked that we have the compliance model run with some different scenarios. So first, you decided that you wanted to eliminate the parcels that were on the southern side of the, I'm going to pull it up just for reference point, but I'm going to talk while I do this. On the southern side of Eastman Street, which we asked the consultants to do, then we asked them to run that at the same level we did for the baseline reports, which was the 15 units per acre, an assumption of 3 stories, 1.25 parking spaces per unit. And then we asked them to do the same at 4 stories, and then with mixed use. And hold on a minute, I'm going to promote Wayne. He can jump in if I missed one of the categories, but I think that covers it. So they are in the process of running that. We expect to get it this week. They need to wrap up their engagement, so we'll have that. We didn't need to run that again, the baseline or the compliance model for the Belmont Washington Street, because everyone agreed that the district would remain the way it was originally proposed. So we're waiting for that to come back. Then we received notice, think we may have mentioned at the last meeting that we had submitted a One Stop for Growth application for assistance doing a fiscal impact analysis to determine if the town could actually raise the percentage of affordable units, the required number of affordable units above 10%, or up to 25%, or a combination of between 10% and 25% with a lower AMI. So, and then also to assist with the public outreach in presenting the districts, what the proposed zoning will be, and getting feedback from the public ahead of town meeting. And we did receive notification last week that we have been awarded $45,000 to go towards that effort. So
does that cover like the entire effort, or as far as my
yeah,
consultant?
well, that's what we will use that. That
Right.
is,
Okay. Right. Yeah. That is the effort. Right. Yeah. The effort
yeah,
is
that's
what
it.
they give us.
That's
Okay.
what- yeah, that's what we have. And
Yeah.
we're assuming that because this was a quick action grant that came from a special allocation of funds specifically for this purpose, that the powers that be assume this will be sufficient for the work that we're requesting. And then there was one other thing I was going to say about that, but it slipped my mind momentarily.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Cool.
I know what it was. So in order to take advantage of that money, we need to go out with an RFP or a request for quotes to qualified firms seeking a proposal or quote to complete that work. And once we get that, we'll sign a contract, we'll present the kind of cost and scope of work to the board to take a quick look at. And, then we'll start working with them.
Okay. Well, sounds like we've made some good progress on this mandate that the legislature has imposed on us. So, board members, do you have any questions or comments about the MBTA multifamily by right zoning districts?
Actually, I do. What's the timeline that we need to make decisions and?
So
Okay.
the end date is town meeting of 2024, which
Right.
means that we need to back into that. April would be the last hearing date for the board to vote to advance it to town meeting. We'd like to try to get that way ahead of that. So really the next step for my department and with Wayne is to start drafting the zoning, come up with a draft for the board to take a look at and review, and we can start talking about that in the meetings. So I'm thinking that because it's summer, because we do have vacation times that people are trying to take, that's probably not next meeting, but maybe the meeting after, that we'll have a draft to start talking about.
And when do we? Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna say, when do we need to kind of have the districts and the verbiage sort of worked out so that we can actually send it out for the public comment and in plenty of time?
So I think, and again, we'll look to the consultants to help us with that, but I would say fall, like
Okay.
right after probably Labor Day, we start that process.
So
Start the process
And then
of
as
public
part of-
commenting,
I'm
or
sorry?
start the process of public comments, or is that the time when we're really going to start as a board zeroing in on how we want it drafted, and then we'll send it?
No, public comments. I think over the summer, we should really, we've already, the folks that did the compliance model for us already took a look through our zoning and identified areas that would need to be changed. So that's a head start. And then I think I was talking with Wayne today, even though I think that was helpful and they did a good job. We want to then go back through it and make sure we've hit all the areas so that you don't have any contradictory code in there or language, which we've come across in the past when changes have been made. And we want to have a discussion with the board. We want the board to participate and have some discussion there. So though it will be part of the agenda. So, of course, the public's welcome to participate by at least attending those meetings and
Okay.
listening in.
Very good. Thank you.
Right, so, I mean, board members, what, do you anticipate that we have to like, make like, kind of overhaul all the zoning, like for, say, like the Eastman Street area? Or do you feel like we can kind of like start with what we've already done, like did like, a year or two ago in that area and just kind of, and modify it to work with the new requirement? I mean, that might be what we talked to the consultants about, right? I mean, Stephanie, I mean, what were you thinking there, Stephanie?
Well, I think that's part of what we'll be talking about, because pretty much the multifamily, the ability to construct multifamily to the density that's required, whether it's the 15 units per acre. In this case, you're going to need it to be higher to get to the 913, but we know we can do that. That has to be allowed by right in the district. So I do think looking at the Furnace Village District Eastman code and figuring out if there's anything that needs to be changed, because like right now you have the multifamily, you have those footnotes that indicate a maximum amount allowed.
Right.
So that needs to go away in order for you to meet the zoning requirement.
Right, and because it's no longer the special permit, it's more like we might have to work on some design standards to have the result that we're looking for, rather than kind of just using the special permit process and like preliminary consultations with the town to kind of plan that all out, right? Yeah, so right, we won't be able to like have let's say like have pretty much no input, say on the design of the buildings, but we could kind of at least lay out like how we feel it should be within like the different like standards that we set.
Right. And I think some of the considerations too that we need to think about are, so if you're considering, say, 4 stories, one of the things you might want to consider, are we talking about a single building on a lot? Are you talking about multiple buildings on a lot? What would that look like? What would your size restrictions might be depending on the size of a lot? Those are things to take into consideration.
Yeah, but then once we receive like the report with the new calculations, then we'll have an idea of how dense it actually has to be in order for that land area. So yeah.
Right. And again, like if we're talking about multiple buildings on a site, you'd probably want a size and maybe a number limitation depending on the size of the lot.
Right. And when we think about it, we think, okay, well, we kind of picture like, okay, maybe there's a couple tall buildings over here on this side, and then the shopping area stays the same, but in actuality, I mean, we are rezoning the entire area for whatever we decide to rezone it for. So yeah. So we have to keep that in mind, even though it might not happen that way. It could.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, one of the members of the public are asking where on Eastman Street, so I'm going to show the map.
Okay.
With you. Whoops, wait a minute. That's the wrong one. I clicked too quickly.
Well, Stephanie sharing it, it's basically like the target Big Y area.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry about this. know why that one was an older one. So, here we go.
Stephanie Danielson has
Okay, can
started
everybody
screen
see that?
sharing.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this is the area we're talking about, which I'm circling with my hand. Let me see, I can annotate this, I think. This area here.
Right,
And
so we eliminated any of that.
we eliminated
area to the
this
south.
area. Yeah. And Mr. Chair, I see that Mr. Carrister has raised his hand.
Okay, let's bring him in.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Dale Carrister, 21 South Street. I would just ask the board to keep an open mind about the possibility of choosing more than one district to locate this rezoning. And the idea being that using a line from the Kevin Costner movie Field of Dreams, if you zone it, they will build it. And you were talking about hundreds and hundreds potentially of new units. And every one of those folks will be Easton residents having to travel down Route 106, which even with improvements in the future will remain a 2-lane road. It's already a parking lot for a lot of the day, and you're going to have a real jam coming through Furnace Village into Five Corners if ultimately the town opts to provide just one district and chooses the Eastman district. So I'm just hopeful that going forward, the board members will keep an open mind about the variety of potential districts that are open and to consider choosing to split the district to share not only the burden, but if you think it's a benefit to share the burden in more than one place throughout the town. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And I don't see any other.
Oh, actually, looks like Denise asked conservation area was circled. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you read?
Someone on the chat
What was the question again?
commented that the conservation area over near New Pond was circled.
Only because I wanted to encompass everything at the bottom. It's not included, so.
No, right, yeah. And even if we did include that, they couldn't build anything really any there anyway. So
Only what's in blue.
yeah, the blue area. Any other board members? Any other questions? I don't see any other hands raised.
I don't either.
Stephanie Danielson has stopped screen share.
Yes, it says, so everything you circled will be changed. The former governor and the legislature a few years ago decided to add something to one of their bills that said that every town that is either has the MBTA or abuts the MBTA needs to follow these new guidelines. Otherwise, they'll do some unfavorable things to us in like a financial way. So there's always the option that the town could just vote not to do this, and then we'll let those chips fall. Otherwise, we're planning for this as best we can to specify some areas that can conform with the new guidelines mandated by the legislature. So it all could change, or we could rezone it and nothing changes. They don't do anything, but it's more likely a combination somewhere,
Right. And Mr. Chair, if I may add to that, with all respect to the comment that Mr. Carrister made, that if you build it, people will come. I mean, we do expect, it would be naive to think that once the zoning's in place, that developers wouldn't be interested in developing, but the state does not require that it be built. It doesn't require that the town go out and seek developers to.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so it's not as bad as it sounds at first. But so Carrie asks, what does that mean if I own a property in that circled area? Then your property would be included in the new zoning, which would allow similarly dense multifamily housing as we have already zoned for the area, but most likely a little more dense than that. And that whole process, like we were talking about earlier, is going to evolve over through into 2024, at which point it would go to town meeting for a vote. Okay, and looks like Denise here kind of echoes some of Dale's comments that that the roads might not be properly designed for additional volume.
Yeah, and again, if people aren't aware, the town is in the process. It will be probably a 10-year project, but the town is working on plans for traffic management improvements on Foundry Street, as well as pedestrian and bicycle accommodations along Foundry Street. And those traffic management improvements are intended to help improve the traffic flow along Foundry.
Yeah, well, hopefully the state helps us along over the next 10 years.
Well, it is part, it is in, so it has been accepted in the Transportation Improvement Project program, Transportation Improvement Program. And so, yes, it is expected that the state, and that's why it's generally a 10-year project. You have to go through the process, several phases of design. And
so does the town still have to pay for the 25% design for the start?
Yes, but which we've received funding to assist with that the pre-25% phase and starting into the 25% phase. We've actually benefited from 2 of those grants. The town has benefited from 2 of the grants that are that would go away or no longer be eligible to the town if the zoning doesn't pass. So, and again, I think the state, one of the reasons, it certainly was an incentive for towns to adopt the zoning, but also recognizing that there would be infrastructure needs that communities would have as a result of this level of development. And that would be a way that communities could look to help fund those projects.
Stephanie, I have a question. If there is any talks in town about public transportation on 106 or 138 in the direction of the MBTA stations?
You know, that's a good question. We've had some conversations in the past with BAT, but they would service, I would guess, primarily the eastern part of the town, and they just didn't. They needed to see a need before we could have some serious conversations about whether we could get them to penetrate and come into Easton. I know my predecessors in the past had some talks with Gantra. I don't know how far those went. I think that's something that we could and should explore.
Well, it it only makes sense to be an adjacent town to the MBTA if you have some kind of solution for transportation to the MBTA station. What we don't have, and the MBTA stations, both of them, in Mansfield and in Stoughton, do not have parking. And therefore, even if you say the people will drive to the station, that is not possible. So all these things is totally illogical.
Right, kind of goes along with what some of these other comments are saying. It's like, oh, well, you have to build all these houses, but we're not going to like fix the transportation problem because we don't know how to. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, just you figure out your own zoning, and we'll, you know, whatever. But
Mhm.
I mean, that's just.
Well, it cannot make all these proposal and mandate ridiculous, as from my point of view.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be easy, but we're going to work on this. To owner, nope. Any MBTA service would be a fully different undertaking by the state to start expanding that service to other towns, I think. Does that make sense to everyone else?
Again, I think that makes sense, and we need to restart conversations with the local
I think should
regional bus transits.
Stephanie, I think should be part of the proposal to have an answer on that. Because if we don't have an answer on that, it makes all these proposals more ridiculous than it already is.
At the same time, though, people start thinking, oh, well, you know, we're making all these changes. We're going to be like this other town or this city, which isn't really all that realistic. But when you just start saying MBTA, it's going to, it will bring that thought to the other people's minds.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Don't know the answer to the last one there. We don't know what the MBTA is going to do. It's not really under our control, but yeah.
I think the fact that people are asking that question and showing interest is important and valuable, because that helps with the communications, and that helps getting
it also changed what district we are going to select, because there is one district that is associated with the answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the two districts that you're focusing on are both located in areas that are close to the bus transits. You know, that, as I understand it, GATRA runs through Mansfield and those other areas, and you have the BAT station over, you know, that runs to Stonehill College. So
it's not that much of a connection.
We will start initiating those conversations again. What would be particularly helpful as we have the conversations is if people, I understand why everyone thinks it makes sense. I'm 100% for it, but people, anyone who would be interested in, you know, if it were available, would you take advantage yourselves of such transportation? I think certainly folks that might be living in these units would take advantage of the public transportation.
My daughter would probably be like Newberry Street every day over the summer just because she could get there. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm kidding, right? Cool. You guys want to move on here? Any more comments? All right, let's wrap it up for now. Next, we have a couple items here for the representative appointments that we put off the other night. So for the CPA, is there anyone that would be interested in being the planning board representative for the CPA?
What's the time commitment on that again?
So they meet, the CPA meets once a month. They meet the second Thursday of each month, and may call extra meetings during the, I'll call it application season, which runs generally October through January normally. And those extra meetings would really only be called if there were a lot of projects that were either larger in nature or had some kind of complexity that there might need to be more discussion around the application. And the meetings generally, I would say, and I'll let Wayne jump in here too, I would say you can count on the meetings being 2 hours. Definitely when we're in the season, they will be a minimum of 2 hours. The summer meetings go a little bit faster. We've had since town meeting, we've had one meeting that was about an hour long. I think the July meeting will be about an hour. And probably the same for August. September, we're expecting to review the letters of interest, so it'll be a little bit longer. But just to give you an honest sense of what that time commitment is. And board members are highly encouraged to attend town meeting.
Say that again, please.
The CPA members, the CPC members are highly encouraged to attend town meeting.
And what about capital planning? Is it a similar commitment?
No, because I think they only meet in, geez, I should have been better prepared for that question, Bob. But Greg was on the capital.
Yeah, I did capital planning for a few years.
That's right. Can you talk to, it's really a concentrated time frame leading up to town meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there'll be like 1 or 2 meetings where some of the department heads will give a presentation on their capital plan, and they take a vote. And you know, the vote's not really binding for anything. It's, you can ask questions, and you could make decisions that the selectmen could decide to consider. That's about the extent of yeah, it's pretty basic.
I mean, I'd be willing to do capital planning if nobody else is interested in it.
Would anyone like to make a motion there to nominate?
Kevin, motion to nominate Rob Stetson for CPA representative from the board.
Well, I'd be willing to do capital planning.
Oh. Do you modify your motion almost for capital planning?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Kadam? Oh, Kadam, are you in favor? Wolf, are you in favor?
Aye.
Stetson?
Aye.
DeShane, aye. Kadam?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. How about CPC? Amos, are you interested? No.
Need to think about it.
Yeah, okay, think about it a little more. I know you know some of those guys, right? So I mean, think about it, and we'll give it another couple weeks there.
So if that is called the CPC, why you say CPA here in the?
It's well.
No, it's just because people sometimes use it interchangeably. It is the Community Preservation Committee who administers the CPA, the Community Preservation Act funding process.
So you're going to be part of the committee, not actually going to be the act yourself. So it's not that big of a deal. All right.
Okay. I am the one.
Are you ready? Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to nominate Amos Kedem for CPA.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Stetson?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Kadam?
Aye.
DeShane, aye. All right. That is done for a year, so long as we're all here next year. All right. Let's see. Now we have a few ZBA requests for comments. Special permit 23 dash, it's getting dark in here, the 24 Quantica Avenue. And this is the let's see, here we have the house on Pequannock Avenue that's under demolition review, and it was there.
Was the demolition approved?
So it's a pre-existing non-conforming, so it's going to be a special permit to. It's not for the demo. We don't decide on the demo. And we don't make a recommendation on the demo unless someone asks us to. And
well, that's my question. Was they need to apply for a permit to do demolition? Was that approved?
Yeah. Good question. Stephanie, do you know about that?
Well, I don't know if they applied for the demolition permit from the building department.
And then I think they wanted to make.
I mean, I'm assuming they did, and they've submitted permits because they're applying because they want to build something that is.
Right, and the new home would just be bigger than the existing one, right?
Right, yeah.
And site plan, I think it looked like it kind of. Site seems to work on that lot. It's not enormous based on what they provided.
So
It's a big lot.
Yeah, I mean, it still looks like 100 feet of frontage, and it's a deep lot, so it's not like it's, like a puny or smaller lot like we have in some other areas of town.
Suzanne, did you get any comments from the historical commission on this one when you submitted it for
Well,
comment?
that's my question actually for the demolition.
Right, yeah. Suzanne?
I'm looking. And Wayne would know. Let me see. 24. 1 second. Wayne said incomplete, but I can't open it. If Wayne could tell us. Wayne did say it was incomplete.
There's no demolition review application received. The house is older than 75 years.
So it is subject to demolition delay.
Yes.
So our recommendation will be approved pending approval of demolition.
Yeah, the demolition permit from the historical commission.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, or they can wait a year, so it's like, it will be like pending filing with the historical commission, maybe, right?
I'll second it. Stetson?
Okay, all in favor, Kedem?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Stetson?
Aye.
DeShane, aye. Okay, that motion to recommend passes. Back here. I don't always print the agenda, so I end up having to go back. Okay. Variance 23-5, 33 Pond Street. This one was the no, it's one of the sideline or one of the setbacks.
Yeah, it's a setback to the conservation area.
Okay, this is the one. This is a duplex, and the one where they needed more space for their family.
Yeah, they put an addition on the back.
Oh, there I did.
They're good renditions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's, they're non-compliant with the setback standards, minimum frontage, maximum lot coverage, and minimum lot area.
And was this like a grandfather duplex use? Does anyone? Well, I haven't seen the application since we reviewed them, or since we did recommendations even before that. So I don't recall like ever seeing either this as like a recommendation to the Board of Appeals or as a special permit for the planning board in like 12 years.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Peter?
Oh, I was just wondering, is this like a grandfathered like duplex from the
Pre-existing non-conforming?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, pre-existing non-conforming duplex.
yes, it appears to be.
So most likely would not go through our special permit
The
process.
special permit process.
Right. Yeah, so the only thing there is that it's, they're expanding it, and, they're expanding what's now a special permit use on of a non-conforming structure, so, and the variance itself is just for
The setbacks.
setbacks.
Yeah, it's not conforming now, and it will be a little less conforming if they do this, right?
Right.
Or a little more conforming. I don't. It's not clear. I think it's a little worse if
I
they
think it
do
would be,
this.
I think it would definitely be less conforming, otherwise they wouldn't bother doing
Right.
it, because they wouldn't need
So
it.
let me show the screen, which shows.
Well, they're taking off the deck,
Stephanie
which
Danielson
I
has
think
started
covers
screen
more
sharing.
space, but they're replacing it with a structure.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
a small lot. It's actually on my street.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
small. It's a small lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Street view shows that exactly, that rendition.
Oh, yeah, oh, that's the one that's across the street on, I know, I looked at it on the map earlier this week, it's
Right.
across the street on that curve, like with
On the curve.
backside near like the river.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Stephanie, can you explain what is the conservation committee here needs to approve and why?
Because there's a river, the Queens River's back there.
Because it's the pond itself has a buffer zone, and because under the bylaw, a river flows into it and out of it, the pond itself has a riverfront area, a 200-foot riverfront area, which gives the Conservation Commission jurisdiction. It doesn't look like they're doing any additional disturbance on the site, from what I could see. So I would imagine that it will be pretty straightforward with the Conservation Commission, but I can't speak for them.
On the plan, on the top there, it says proposed erosion control and limit of work.
Yep.
So that is in order to
Prevent any
materials to go into that area during construction.
that's right.
Yeah, the thing that's just interesting to me though is that, say if this were like if it were, say, a pre-existing non-conforming like other type of use and they were expanding it, then we'd probably make them come to, you know, like a site plan review for a business. But because this is like a residential structure, it's a little bit different, or I'm not sure about, I just don't know about that.
Well, but they're not you don't normally require site plan review for a residential unless it's a parking lot expansion.
Right, except that, yeah.
Or again, if it were a multifamily, that would be different, but.
Oh, well, it would be different. It would be different if you took like a pre-existing non-conforming apartment building and they wanted to expand that, and I'm pretty sure we'd make them come to do some sort of review, whereas this one's just a duplex. It might not make us think that we need to. All right, well, I don't know. I'm open to suggestions here, but I would suggest if we were to recommend it that they have to comply with the height bylaw.
Yeah, and they do.
Well, oh yeah, they have to, and we mentioned that. And it'll just be more difficult given the fact that they're still going to go over to 10 feet on the variance. So, I don't know. I mean, you know, I lived on Columbus Ave and we had 15 feet to our property line, even though the houses looked really close together. So, this is kind of a little bit of a stretch, you know. I mean,
it's under the other rules.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to implicate.
Right, I don't think they're adding.
You think the medium?
I don't even care. They just have to do it. I mean, they'll let the building inspector figure it out, and if they need help. Our help, we'll give them our help.
Okay.
No, I mean, I did like you, right? I didn't spend a lot of time trying to, whether or not those are actually how the building's going to look eventually, anyways, right? Would be kind of a. Unless you think this is the place where we should review that right now, which we could.
What is your think they are not complying or they need to comply with? Height?
The the height bylaw in relation to the, just the height bylaw, which was made to keep buildings on smaller lots in scale.
It's under.
So it's
under.
it's just at the 25 foot. So
Mhm.
they show the
Oh,
average
no.
grade.
Well, no, the height bylaw kind of regulates like how like the roof lines and the size of the building can be in relation to the property lines. You know, the height bylaw that Greg.
Well, you can have a
Greg did
higher height. The way the bylaw is written is the height of your building can be higher if you have more setback. But they're showing right here on this elevation that I have up that the height, the distance to the midpoint, which is where you measure the roof,
Gotcha. So
is
clever,
25 feet,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's the requirement. And he
Oh,
shows the average grade.
Yeah, and they already have average grade there, so yeah, you're right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. On the
So it's showing all the information you need
Yep,
to be
yeah.
able to prove that.
according to the
compliant.
heights, they are okay.
Good. All right. Well, it's up to someone to make a motion here.
I'll make a motion to recommend that we approve or that we approve the variance, or motion to recommend the variance. Stetson.
Kevin, second.
Okay. All in favor, Stetson,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Kadam,
All right.
Shane, aye. Although I was on the fence, you guys convinced me there, so all right. Okay. Our last ZBA request for comment is, let's see, special permit, 68 Prospect Street. This was the
Golf fitting shop.
Oh yeah, right. What did everyone think about this?
Can you find a reason why not?
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Because they already have a shop there for golf.
Yep, and everyone likes it, and it doesn't bother anyone because it's way back in the woods.
Yeah, I am very familiar because the Lions used to do the golf tournament there. So.
Yep, my cousin used to drive there from Quincy. Then now he still goes there. I think from Situate to buy. Well, maybe not now. I don't know. He probably buys a golf clubs at some very expensive place, but he used to go there to buy golf clubs. So yeah.
And I think if this incentivizes business in Easton, I think we should also consider that as a positive.
Well, is that a motion?
Stephanie Danielson has stopped
Motion
screen
to
share.
Second, Stetson.
All in favor? Wolf?
Aye.
Stetson?
Aye.
Kadam?
Aye.
Shane, aye. That motion passes. And I think that's, we have minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review?
They're okay with me. I read them.
That's sounds sort of like a motion and
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second, Stetson.
all in favor, Stetson?
Aye.
Kadam?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
That passes as well. Stephanie, do you have any other updates?
No, mine were all related to the MBTA zoning.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything? Anyone from the public? We had a short meeting. Just don't make it go too long.
I don't see any hands, Mr. Chair.
None.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Stetson.
Kadam, second.
All in favor, Wolf?
Aye.
Kadam?
Aye.
Stetson?
Aye.
DeShane? Aye. All right. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.
Aye, and good
Night.
luck.